Hi everyone, Havoy Tarapur here. Welcome back to our channel. So glad to have you here with us. We are continuing our series today on the divine life of Asho Zarathushtra. And recap a little bit of the stuff we went through already in the previous uh, three videos. But today's video is on the divine missions that Zarathustra Pegamber had to accomplish when he came down on Earth. Now, we might think that there was only one mission, and that mission was to, create the religion or to offer a religion, the Mazdiasni Zarathustra religion. But actually, there are five other missions that he had. Now, these missions, though we will discuss them, and I'll just touch on the first five because they do require a great deal of understanding of mysticism and the ability to see beyond these five senses. So, because we have not reached that far yet in our channel to um, help the viewers and listeners to go down that path, I think we will take up some of these missions a little later as we go on and we pick different topics. Those missions will come into play. But today I just want to touch on them and finally concentrate on the final mission, which was, of course, to create the Mazdiasni, Zarathustra, din or religion. So, anyway, so far we have discussed in the first video, we discussed his divine stature, that he was a ray of our Mazda's light, and that he was once one with our Mazda, and by no means was he just an ordinary human being that was philosophizing and trying to understand right and wrong, good and bad, that type of thing. The second video showed really how this divine ray of light that was once with our Mazda or with our Mazda in its perfection, how that ray of light was brought down to this earth and ultimately became the prophet that we come to know. How his Fravashi was transferred to this earth, how his Horeb is the light that is around him, how that came down to this earth, how his, of course, the soul and Fravashi together, and how the genes that finally made up his body were transferred down to this earth, and how they were all amalgamated, and finally the creation of Zarathustra Pegamber as we know him as a divine being on this earth. So that was the second video. Now the third video included miracles during his infancy, and it also included a little bit of discussion on what we can learn and with from those miracles and how to apply those miracles to our own daily life, because after all, he is the perfect divine soul. And when we see the miracles, we have to understand that that is our potential ultimately. We will ultimately hope to be of the same potential that we can um, grow to that level of perfection. So that was the first three videos. And today our topic is on the missions, divine missions that he had come here to accomplish. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're just going to take a quick glance at the first five missions because, as I had mentioned, they involve a lot of understanding of mysticism and the mystical realm. And I don't want to sort of get too deep into that without first having the basics of our religion, which is what most people want to know when they are watching these videos. They want to understand more about the religion and why we have this religion and why we have so many rituals and customs and so on and so forth. So, very quickly, let's go through these first five missions very briefly. I'll try to explain them and then we'll go on the last sixth mission, which is the presentation or the giving of the Zarathustra, Mazdiasni Zarathustra Din. So, his first mission, Asho Zarathustra's first mission began actually before he actually ascended or descended to this physical earth. And as he was descending through the heavens, through Nisti, he had made stop. And that stop was in what we call Upairidakyu. That is also where Chinwat is. And that stop has a specific name, it's called Gus. Now, over there, Zartus had created the mi- um, first Atasbiram in the mystical sense. So not there's no physical entities there, but one day we will come back to discussing Atas, and at that time we will try to go back to this mystical Atas Biram in Uparidakyu in a place called Gas, Gaas. In his second mission, we learn about how Zartos has laid the path for the other five religions, or sorry, the other four major religions that are to descend upon this earth, and of course their um, ratus or their leaders, and as well as the souls that will descend into those religions. So it's a very interesting topic. We won't get into it now. It does involve dinyas. It involves understanding the idea that is presented in Haptanyast of Pathanamcha Vicharano Yuzameri and Pathanamcha Hanjamano Yuzameri. So the idea of Panchatakesh, Pancharatu. So here, all these topics will come up when we discuss second mission. The third mission is also one that is the Western studies have found it very difficult to understand, put their finger right on it. But it involves the invoking of nine angelic beings uh, who will do certain jobs or who are assigned certain jobs in this creation, not only in the past, um, in as in at during his time, in the present, during our time right now, and in the future, long after we're gone. So these nine angelic entities are part of his third mission, which we will discuss again some other time. His fourth mission describes how he has destroyed Tur Baratur. Now, there's a lot of misunderstanding about this. There's stories out there that say that, our Pegamber Sahib was murdered by a person called Tur, but things don't match up. And why they don't match up is because when we saw his miracles during infancy, and we didn't talk about a few others after that, but other miracles after that, um, we can understand with our basic human mind that evil had no way of getting at him. He was a being of light. And so being, what then was Tur? So this is the instance of uh, what we call vikis. That is when a very high soul um, self combusts in order to and what Zartos did is that he self combusted, means he is made of divine light, right? So when when his time on this earth was up and he had to move towards the heavens, he didn't just leave. He also did us the great favor of destroying that huge dark cloud formation, which we call Turbaratur. What is a dark cloud formation? Well, it's the collection. When we say dark, it's evil. It's the collection of all the evil, negative thought, words, and deeds that were growing and growing and growing prior to his arrival on earth. And he destroyed that whole formation. So when I say formation, it's easy to sort of picture a dark cloud and you're breaking the cloud, but a formation is something has that is started with your thoughts. So, for example, if you have a good thought, if you have a bad thought, these energies of that good and bad thought, they enter your aura and they keep circling around your aura. Now, either you correct them, you change them, you convert them into something that is good, the negative ones, and you promote the positive ones into something that is even better and even better. That is whole idea of cleansing your aura and understanding that your thoughts and your deeds and your words all have a certain energy. So, what we were talking about is the build up of these negative, evil thoughts, words, and deeds that had built up prior to his arrival on earth. And upon his departure, he ensured that our path to salvation would be clearer for us to move forward once these formations in nature that were creating negative energies all around us were destroyed. So that was his fourth mission, and it was to destroy the, the formation of Tur with the what we call the keys, that idea of self-combustion. And you hear about that self-combustion even with Hindu sadhus or saints uh, who are able to self-combust through their meditation or just depart without self-combusting, but you are or just disappear. So these are different phenomena, but they're all kind of the same. They're all of the ability of your soul to manage your every atom in your being and decide what happens to that atom. Okay. Now, spent too long on that one. I'll go to the next, the fifth mission. So the fifth mission, again, very interesting, is in nature. Dada or Mazda's plan is there in every speck of nature. His whole plan for creation and how creation will finally perfect and how it will return back to him. Now, this is in a very mystical existence, this whole plan, because we can't see it, just like we can't see our own thoughts. Um, we certainly can't see Dada Rama's thoughts, but his thoughts do come to us by way of matravani, by way of different levels of matra. So, what Zarthos Pegamber did was he presented or he made the um, made available to us the complete our plan, the complete plan of Dada Mazda for the creation and final dissolution of this earth and this all creation once everything is perfected. And he has incorporated that entire plan in 21 books called the 21 Nusks. It's interesting to note that each Nusk is titled, um, the name of each Nusk is one word of the Yata Ahoreyo prayer. So gives you a little bit of something to think about. But right now we're going to move on to mission six. So mission six is then obviously to preach the Mazdiasni Zartosti Din or Mazdiasni Zartosti religion. Now, many people think that it's just a philosophy, it's just good thoughts, good words, good deeds. But when we reduce when we reduce this entire mechanism, spiritually divine mechanism that helps us convert our souls, to alchemize our souls into that same perfect light as Zarathustra, as Dador Mazda. When we reduce that and say that religion is just good thoughts, good words, good deeds, and we are good Zarathustris, then what we're doing is really we're snatching away the vehicle for this transformation from not only ourselves, but all the future generations. So let me give you an example. If somebody is kind enough to just donate a beautiful car to you because they know you're in need of a car, that you need to go from A to B and you need some way of transport. Now, what happens if somebody comes along and says, "Oh, nice car, but these wheels are just taking up too much room. We'll just remove all the wheels." Will the car move? By making our religion more and more convenient, thinking that our children cannot cope with these high concepts, thinking that this is all just too much, they can't believe in it, they can't understand it. And we keep moving and deleting things. We delete choke, we delete the need for sadrokasti, we delete the need for prayers, we delete the need for dakma. All what we're doing is we are then replacing this incredible, beautiful religion. We are removing the foundation, and what we're doing is we're just creating it on house of cards. Now, this is a lovely picture here, um, done by Mena's Mystery, and she was much younger than she is today. Is when she was, I think, just a teenager. For whatever reason, this inspired her to make this picture. I'm not 100% certain, but the picture does say a lot to me. And it does say that, like, our religion is so great. And what we're doing today is we're placing it on this flimsy house of cards that with any argument, everything can be blown away, and that whole religion can come tumbling down. And who's to lose? We're not here to save religion for the sake of, some ancient protection, of some ancient concept. No, the religion is for us here today, for us to um, progress even in today's times, even when we are so far from God, when we are so far from understanding our own spirituality, that religion will take you and will transport you like that beautiful car from where we are today to where we need to be. So let's look at what sustains that religion, what sustains this whole progress from being who we are to becoming actually saintly and even beings of light. Ultimately, that is the process. That is the intention. Ultimately, to become one with Dada Mazda. So how did he set that up? If we look over here, Zartus has set up 7 pillars of our religion, and these pillars are things like Matravani, Merpadet, Atas Parashti, Sudre Kasti, Bunak Vaspani, Dokme Nashini, and Kriyakam. Now, all of these things, if you remove one, you're removing, like, it's like removing one wheel from the car. If you change it, or you make a smaller wheel, or you're ruining this perfect, effective machinery. And one by one, today's video is going to be short. I'm going to end it here. One by one, we're going to go through these 7 pillars, and we're going to understand how each of these pillars applies a magnificent, I mean, we're going to understand how each of these pillars play a magnificent role in forwarding our soul, in advancing our soul to perfection, to alchemy, to ultimate reunion with Dada Mazda. So I'm going to end this video here today, just discussing about the 6 missions that Zartus has had when he came on this earth. But um, I'm going to discuss mostly in coming videos the 7 pillars of our Zartosti Din, which again I will say is Matravani, Mer Padet, Atasprasti, Sudrekasti, Bunak Pasbani, Lokmenashini, and Kriyakam. Now, there's a lot of controversy about many of these things, and I hope that understanding them in a different light will really show you how these 7 things together work to ensure our success in our mission here. And our mission is alchemy of the soul, is progressing towards Dada Ramazda on the path, and how these 7 pillars, when practiced properly, facilitate us exponentially, that our soul is not burdened with life after life after life of coming back and trying to figure things out. Everything is here. I'm very, very, very excited by our next video, which I'm going to concentrate on Matravani, because Matravani is a beautiful concept, which is, I think, quite a bit misunderstood, or how would I say, perhaps not misunderstood, but minimized. And we're going to show how Matravani actually works to progress the individual soul on its journey. So I'm looking very much forward to that. I love doing the proper mitra when we're doing our prayers. I admit I can't do it all the time, but when I do it, I just don't want to stop. So it is quite beautiful. So I do hope you join me for that, and I hope that you have enjoyed this video as well. Bye for now. Saboi Tarapor.